My love. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of August 18th to August 24th. Now, we're going into a real interesting energy, and I want to start from the beginning with admitting I've missed something. I did miss something. I didn't anticipate it. I'm usually good at anticipating things, I'm usually good at connecting dots, but for whatever reason, I missed this one. Maybe I've been too focused on the outer planets changing signs. Maybe I've been too focused on what eclipse season is going to be. I've been too focused on the future, and I forgot to pay attention to looking backwards. Because every once in a while, when certain transits happen, they're happening in an area of the sky where we've already done certain things. And that has become very, very clear to me over the last 2 weeks. For most of you, it's also become clear to you, but not in the way that I'm about to explain it. I want to rewind us back to December. December 6th, we had a Mars retrograde, and it started at 6 degrees of Leo. Most recently, we had a Mercury retrograde, and it ended at 4 degrees of Leo. 4, 5, and 6 became an overlap point in the sky from the Mars retrograde that started back in December and the recent exposures of the current Mercury retrograde. Now, let's be fair, we've had so much crap happen since December. I didn't think we were going to see a connection. Again, I was more focused on how the outer planets have moved forward, where we've been in the energy, knowing that Mercury retrograde was setting us up for eclipse season. I was a lot more focused on the new, the next, that I did not put focus on for the previous timeline. Now, I'm going to let a lot of the new people hear a rule that I stated back in October. Some of y'all know what this rule was. And you still, to this day in August, will not let me live it down. And that was when Mars went into shadow, which was the early October timeframe. I said then that if you start seeing somebody between October and November, that these people seeing, meeting, hanging out with, doing something different with these people, they were going to be a pivotal part of the disruption once Mars turned retrograde in December. But I also said, if I had my absolute choice, that there would be no new relationships. Business, sure, we can talk business because business is meant to change and adapt. That would be great. But relationships, no, let's not do this. Some of y'all listened. Some of y'all, again, still like to give me a hard time for that time frame. Some of y'all didn't listen at all. Some of y'all didn't know about me, and you are excused from any hard time per se that I'm going to give you, but you're still going to hear the story. You're going to hear the energy. The overlap from December Mars retrograde, the start, to this ending of the Mercury retrograde has tied parts of the timelines together. And I know this at first because I'm like, if I think about it this way, about what I'm doing in my life and some of the stuff that I've been putting together, that checks out. Like we're adapting, we're changing, I'm leveling something up that goes back to that December timeframe. Yeah, that checks out. But some of you didn't make a business change. Or if you did, you didn't do your homework about who you were making changes with. And the thing about Mars energy is he's disruptive. He is the god of war no matter what. That doesn't change. Even if we're not in wartime, he's still the god of war. He just has to adapt his energy. So when Mars is not at war, I say he's an amazing builder and constructor and renovator and these types of things. Like he creates disruption in more ways than one. Sometimes it's chaotic, other times it's pivotal, necessary. There has been a connection that goes all the way back to December of last year. And it did not start to show up until these last 2 weeks when one, Mercury ended its retrograde, because that was a week ago, at 4 degrees. And two, we've had the second and third Mercury Mars sextile in the series of 3. Now, back in early June was the first one. And I started saying it back then, guys, we are in this new energy. We're putting forth some efforts. We're picking back up on some old stuff and finally leveling it into something, taking it into a new direction, taking it into a new level. We're pushing into new things that are long overdue. We're stepping into some things. And whatever we started to do in June, we're going to get tested in July and August through this retrograde. Whatever happened through the retrograde was making space, revealing certain things, so we have an idea of where we're going to start transitioning and having new things going into eclipse season. And I'm bringing all that timeline back together all the way from December to the summer, present energy, because one, Mercury, Mars, and what they're doing, and we're still dealing with them at the start of this week. Two, the outer planets. And that is where my focus has mainly been. If I compare the transits to June 5th, the week of June 5th to June 8th, whenever certain energies kind of pushed some things to the forefront of how we've moved forward all summer, Saturn and Neptune were direct, but literally in the same degrees of the sky that they're in right now. Except for now, they're retrograde. So we know more. We've seen more. Something has changed. Opinions have changed. Desires have changed. Beliefs have changed because those two are retrograde. Adding a layer into that, by the end of this week, we have our first new moon in Virgo. Now, I've said this to particular signs on the podcast. So like on a full moon, new moon video, I've said this to particular people in our one-on-ones, but I've not said this next statement full blown for everyone to hear until now. This upcoming eclipse season is arguably the most important one for this eclipse axis. It is. On the Pisces side, we're getting nothing but full moons, and they're all a year apart. We had a Pisces eclipse last fall on September 17th. We will have a Pisces eclipse on September 7th of this year. And we will have our third and final one after the nodes change signs in August of next year. This eclipse on September 7th will be the one and only Pisces eclipse with the North Node in Pisces. And we will unwrap that more when we get to it. On the Virgo side, we have 2 new moons in Virgo. The first one will happen at the end of this week. Now, it is not an eclipse, but it directly feeds into the adaptions and the changes. We end this week with our first new moon in Virgo. And I will arguably say, whatever happens from August 23rd, because that's whenever it's the most exact, but energetically, we're going to be preparing for something all week. All through September is all of eclipse season. Even though the first new moon in Virgo is not actually an eclipse, it is a new moon in the sign where the eclipse axis is. So we can't ignore it. There's something important here. We just had Mercury into retrograde. As we start this week, Mercury will be finalizing its sextile with Mars, really solidifying previous energies. For some that go back to December, for others that go back to June. And I'm specifically stating based off of like those particular transits. If you have other timelines, there's probably other reasons, and that's more one-on-one vibration to figure out why. But there's something about this week that is really pushing forth the direction, the new idea, the new pattern, the next part of the transition. And it is transition. The thing about having any type of lunations in the mutable signs, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, these are the signs that bridge us from one season to the next. The end of Virgo season, we start fall. We go into Libra season. The first day of Libra season is the first day of fall. There is a vibration here that speaks to a transition, and that the adaptation and changes that we're going into will have a long-term effect, but we are not directly stepping into the long-term energy. We are taking the next step, the level up, the new awareness, the new lessons of where we're going next. And for some people, the disruption that led you here can go all the way back to last December in many ways. For some, even September, that's more because of the Pisces side of things. And we'll, again, when we get closer to the Pisces eclipse, we'll talk about that more. But there has been an overlap in vibration. Some of us made decisions in December in that temporary Mars retrograde energy. We made decisions then that over the course of this week and next week are going to get tested. This week, it's a mental awareness of testing. Next week will be a little bit different. And when we get closer to that, I'll explain it more. We're going to be picking back up on previous energies, previous things, previous dynamics, and previous tests, while also still trying to build into the new. And what will start to also slowly unfold in our transitional energy is the awareness of unfinished business. Now, are we immediately going into unfinished business? No. I feel like that is going to be more of the September and October timeframe. I feel like a lot of us are in a place of still building into something new. Mercury is direct now, but we are going into eclipse season. In addition to that, we have a lot of planets in cardinal instigative signs. So it's a very, I don't want to say tumultuous. Turbulent could be a better word. Adventurous energy that we're going into this week, because our focus has clearly shifted. Now, the thing about the Mercury-Mars sextile is it started last week on Thursday. And I will admit, whenever it started to go exact, my mental anxiety for myself like really picked up, and it didn't want to shut off. And it didn't matter what I took or where I tried to do. Like, it was not shutting off for a little bit. And I had to catch myself before certain things came out of my mouth, because that's going to happen sometimes. But then there's also been the other part of the vibration that I did say would happen. And that is like, we got to do this to this to this to this, plan, 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 and plan, go, 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 here, 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 negotiate, 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 review, review, review. So that way we can step into this week taking an action. And for whatever the action of transition is this week, for many of us, it's a long time coming. It's a long time coming because it's either going back to the beginnings of June, for some even more December, if you're very familiar with your own energy and what's been going on. For some of you, it's both. The need to recognize both, see both, understand both. For some, there is a challenge, and you'll have to rise to the occasion. For some, this is a challenge of you realizing who you connected with, who you started working with, who you committed to at the beginning of certain disruptive energy. You now do not see them the same way. And there's a different task in the vibration. There's a different awareness in how you're stepping forward and how you're seeing certain things and how you're seeing someone. Part of the idea, the transition, is going to be because certain conversations are going to have to be had. And some people will be in shock by those conversations. Some people, it will be excitement. And I do anticipate the awareness of the new, the awareness of the conversation, the awareness of the mentality by the end of the week. Because again, by the end of the week, we're going into our first new moon in Virgo. As we go through this week, I want you to understand both sides. The bleeding of the past coming through with different colors, different awareness, while also stepping into new things. In a lot of ways, you needed the past experience to test you, to teach you, to prepare you for the now, for the new, for the present, for the directions forward. Because again, so much of what's coming to light, coming into focus, is a long time coming. It is. Be aware if you have a very specific idea, mindset, something that has just been very overwhelming in your brain, you have new information that's just overwhelming your brain, it's pushing a task, it's pushing something forward. Going into this week, and again, arguably, by the end of this week, we are in the start of eclipse season. But I want to be clear, again, the new moon in Virgo, it is not an eclipse, this first one. But it's like a hellacious Super Bowl pre-show. It's like Kendrick Lamar being in the pre-show of the Super Bowl and all of us tuning in for the pre-show instead of just the halftime show. Like there's big vibration here. And it sets the stage for things that we will be doing and transitioning into and through over the course of the next lunar month. So the rest of August and basically all of September. We're stepping into something, but we're going to have bleeds from the previous timeline, from the previous energy, from the previous notions, from the previous knowledge. Like we're having bleed overs that are becoming aware and becoming present. What you do with them is kind of up in the air, because for some people, the bleed over, it's not a big deal. But for others, you're suddenly in a place where you're seeing things very, very differently. And we're not willing to look through rose-colored glasses anymore. We're going to get into the transits. We're going to get into Monday. I'm done sounding ominous. I'll cover more of that in closing. But let's get into the transits. Let's get into the week. Now, as we get into the week, the moon is in Gemini at the very start. So we're actually going to have a transition of the moon partway through the day on Monday. But we've still got a couple things going on here. One, Mercury and Mars are finalizing their third sextile. Again, the previous one was last week on the 14th. That's whenever it was the most exact. The one before that was June 5th, early June. So we have a lot of things that are tying us back to the previous timeline, the earlier timeline. So be aware of that energy. And I do really feel like a lot of people have a lot of mental energy that has been very dominant in their vibration, in their ideas, in their focus. For some people, it's been very, very frustrating. For other people, it has been motivating. For other people, it has put a sour taste in your mouth over the course of, I'm going to round it to the last week, but it was the most exact since August 14th. And depending on where your mental energy is going to really take the stage as to like how positive or negative this energy of the week is going to go. For some people, it's been very, very motivating. You know, you're going into something new and you're going to take on a challenge, and you're going into this week ready to do something you've never done before. Others are realizing you're going into something new, but you got a bad taste in your mouth about who you're doing it with. And I want you to be aware of whatever that vibration is, positive or negative, because we're still in it at the start of the week. Our minds have been running for days with this prolonged Mercury-Mars sextile. Our minds have been running. We have been running in a lot of ways. But there's something about finally pushing something forward. It's like we got enough data. We know enough. We've thought about it enough. We've seen enough of the pattern. We've recognized something. And this kind of allows something to finally move forward in a different way once we get into Monday. So be aware of the mental energy that's being pushed forward now, aligned now, navigated now, negotiated now, committed to now. Because again, some people, it was very contractual stuff with the Mercury. Okay, moving along. In the early morning time, between 6 and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Gemini, in Mercury's sign, beating up on Mercury some more, the moon in Gemini is going to hit a sextile to the sun. There is a wind down in the vibration because we are getting closer to a new moon, but we're also getting to it closer to a new moon in Mercury's sign. So the thing is, the ideas, the plans, the attitude, the conversations, the agreements, the marketing, the negotiation, the travel, the needs for travel, like everything mercurial that you can think of is very much in the forefront. And there can be some kind of attention shown, the moon hitting the sextile to the sun. There can be an acknowledgement shown. Sextiles are not hard, they're actually a very gentle energy. But considering we still have Mercury and Mars in their sextile, there's something about showcasing a motivation or putting forth an effort, giving attention to someone in regards to their position of power. Are we all doing that at 6 o'clock in the morning? No, that's just when this transit is the most exact. But I feel like a lot of people are going to feel like they need to put attention into something, push something forward, allow something to take shape, allow something to happen that is going to require a whole different level of care and nurturing once the general mental acceptance is there, once we say what we need to say. And I feel like there is going to be some elements of saying some things on Monday. Good, bad, ugly, that's a human effect. But we got some things to say. We'll keep this going. Between 8 and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, so now I've got this at 8:30, Chiron is going to hit a sextile to the moon. This is not heavy energy. And again, we're talking about a sextile, but we are talking about Chiron being in Mars' sign and the moon being in Mercury's sign. And Mercury and Mars are still in their sextile. Some of the direction, some of the action, some of the guidance that we need to take in action is in hopes of like, this is how we're going to make something better. This is how we're going to heal something. This is how we're going to get something going. This is a part of my motivation. This is the bright idea. And some people are going to support it. Other people are going to have no experience with it and they don't know how to handle it. You do you, boo, because I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand it. And I mean, it's like, it's trying to get, grandma and grandpa to understand you're going to be an influencer. Like, I don't understand what you're doing, but baby, if it makes you happy, do it. Chiron is a neutral energy and he's not necessarily always trying to push wounds. It's a lot of times it's about solutions. And the idea is like, I'm finding a solution with the idea that it's going to heal, it's going to help, it's going to be beneficial, it's not meant to hurt. And Chiron's energy in that first part of the week that we're going to go through between Monday and Tuesday is going to offer a lot of that level of energy, a lot of solution. Again, that's not going to hurt. Now, after that, the moon's going to go void for a couple hours. At 2:06 p.m., the moon is going to go into Cancer. And as soon as the moon goes into Cancer, it's going to get busy. Now, so we're going to feel a lot of things that start to kind of go down between that 2 and 4 p.m. standpoint as soon as the moon goes into Cancer. Now, the moon is now in its home sign. It's in a cardinal sign. It's in a place where we need to take something forward, move in a certain direction, take new things into focus. There's a new thing that we care about that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be understood. Some final touches that are about to be a part of a launch, that are about to be a part of a program, that are about to be a part of what we're pushing ahead. And there is the need to show care as much as getting over fears of judgment, fears of the unknown, fears of projection. Because if you allow the projection to take over, take on, hit you the wrong way at the start of the afternoon, as soon as the moon goes into Cancer, if we let judgment take over, then the next few days are going to be real harsh emotions. We're going to feel like we don't have the support. Nobody cares about us. Nobody cares about our desires. But if you go into it aware that there can be like the first stage of an emotional trigger, because there can be, then you can overcome adversity very, very quickly. And once the moon goes into Cancer, Monday afternoon, again, the most exact at 2:06 p.m. Central Standard Time, over the course of the afternoon, there's either going to be some things that have judgment to them, or it's got something from a boss, an authority figure, a disbelief, a lack of belief, a test in faith that can kind of set the stage for how the next few days are going to go while the moon is in Cancer. And there can be a lot of emotions with the moon in Cancer. So be aware of that too. Be aware, be aware, be aware. Okay. Now, again, as soon as the moon goes into Cancer, it's going to go through the test. Between 2:30 and 4:30 p.m., the moon is going to go through that square with Saturn. Between 4 and 6 p.m., so I'm going to bump this to 4:30. That's kind of going to do both of them. It's also going to go through that square from Neptune. Now, the Neptune square isn't as heavy, but it can be the thing that, like, we want to drown our senses. We want to distract ourselves. We don't want the same vibration moving forward. We didn't like the judgment, so now we're trying to avoid something. There can be the avoidance of conflict, or we don't believe somebody the same way. We feel like somebody's not necessarily telling us everything. That can be a big part of it. And if you feel like somebody's hiding something from you, I'm looking at the fact that Saturn and Neptune are retrograde in this square with the moon. So because they're not in the same level of belief, or you feel like someone's hiding something from you, it again triggers emotions. If you have emotional tests, emotional triggers in that middle part of Monday, do not be surprised. For some people, it will feel harsh. For other people, it's going to be the realization of what we did not know. For other people, it's going to be the awareness that somebody is not telling us everything. They're not giving us everything. They could be hiding something from us. And that's a lot of intuition taking over right there, because I didn't have hiding in my notes, but that's what I got right now. Moving along. The rest of the day, the moon's just going to be in Cancer. I wouldn't expect a lot of high vibration, still a lot of mental energy, but not a necessarily high vibration. And this is where we can be in that transition of mental into emotional. We're going to get into the 19th. Again, the moon is going to be in Cancer all day long in the overnight hours between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So here's the moon, 7 degrees, 47 minutes. It is going to hit a square to Mars. Mercury is still in that sextile. It's not the exact, but we're still there. But now we have the moon hitting a square to Mars, and there can be what feels like judgment. There can feel like direction. There can be something that feels like a push. There can be something that feels very, very tense. Given the fact that Saturn and Neptune are in Mars' sign, there can be a pickup of something from yesterday afternoon that takes us into Tuesday. Some people, this is still going to be a part of the late hours of Monday going into Tuesday. And there's just a little bit more tension that's bringing forth emotion, or it's testing our emotions. Other people are going to get direction. The moon hitting the square to Mars, being in the higher authority and being in its own home sign, this is going to be a direction of path, of judgment, of how you're taking something forward. And for some people, this can even feel like permission. You should totally do that. That thing you've been working on all weekend, with Mercury being in the sextile to Mars, Mercury still being in the sextile to Mars, but now the moon's hitting the square. You should totally take this action. You should do this thing you've never done before. You should try this out. Let's go. Let's move. Let's do it. And no matter what, we're in a forward motion energy. Most of us just need that person that says you should do it. All right. I understand the numbers. I understand the problems. I understand what we're doing. We've got it all ready. The furniture is going to be here tomorrow. We're in some level of prep that, okay, direction can happen. Steps forward can happen. And this doesn't have to be tense. For some people, it will be. And if you are in your emotions, I feel like you're more likely to feel the tension. But for other people, it's going to be direction. Now, are we all doing the tension and the frustration or whatever, the direction at 2:30, 3:30, or 4:30 in the morning? No, that's just when it's the most exact. Some of us, the human effect is going to be direction will be first thing in the morning. Like, you're going to wake up and send the text message to somebody like, all right, do it. I've slept on it. I've had a night to sleep on it. Do it. Be aware of that too. Okay. Now we have another thing that's building all day, and you can kind of see it here. Chiron going through its trine with the sun. So I said this on the Monday part. I'm saying it again now. Chiron has this desire to fix, really heavy in the energy, especially in the first part of the week. And we're building into this square, I'm not square, this trine between Chiron and the sun. This is actually going to go the most exact between 12:23 and 12:49 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 12:30. Here is Chiron, 26 degrees, 59 minutes. Here is the sun, 26:59. A support of passion, a support of desire, a support of ego, a support of confidence, helping someone understand how to fix something, how to work with something, how to take something forward. Now, the thing about the Chiron Sun trine is it is exact at 12:30, but we are in this energy all day long. So the morning part where I'm saying give permission to somebody can be a part of the solution. It can be a part of the direction of how we're empowering or how we're focusing on something. As we get later into the afternoon, we are still going to be Chiron trine Sun, but we're going to hit this conjunction to Jupiter. And this is going to be felt the most exact between 4 and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is a meeting with the doctor, the guru, the teacher. This is some level of support. This is talking with our husbands. This is talking about the money. This is talking about the plan. This is giving wisdom, taking wisdom. There's something here that seems very, very supportive and necessary. And given, again, we are still in this Mercury-Mars sextile. So sometimes we need to tell someone at the end that we've made a decision, we've made the commitments, we've given the green light. And by telling somebody the full story of something, we also get support. We get emotional validation. We get some extra thing. Chiron being in the trine to the sun, it's healing, it's hopeful, it's helpful. It can have emotions to it. It can. I'm not sugarcoating that, but it doesn't feel detrimental in regards to the emotions. So I want to be clear about that too. What's interesting is as we go through this with this Moon Jupiter conjunction is we're also getting into Jupiter going into shadow. It's not like specific at this moment. I'm just saying in general. Jupiter goes into shadow this week. So there are going to be layers to the things that we are doing right now that are going to take us into springtime when Jupiter's back in this area of the sky. So we got layers to some stuff that's going to be happening as we continue. Yay, yay, yay. Moving along. Tuesday doesn't have a whole lot going on. It doesn't. Now, I will say we can still have those levels of nostalgia. We have a whole lot of that bleed over. Again, we're giving guidance, support, direction, and path to certain people with the idea that once they do it, once they take it forward, once they have the green light, we're fixing something, we're solving something, we're offering solutions in some way. And that's a big part of the vibration between Monday and Tuesday. We want to fix something. We do not want to create wounds. We do not want to trigger people on purpose. We can't control how people receive something, but we're not trying to do things purposefully in that regard. Okay, moving along. We're going to get into Wednesday. Now, the moon is going to be in Cancer all through the most of the day. It's actually going to change signs in the evening time. But whenever we get into the early morning between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit this conjunction to Venus. And this is really nice. Venus loves being in Cancer. The moon is in its home sign. There's appreciation. There's talking about the appearance of something. Oh, this looks so great. You did so much good work. It's so beautiful. It tastes so good. This is really nice, light energy in regards to appreciation, emotional consideration. The sun is still in that trine to Chiron, but it's separating. So there is something that still feels like the healing and the solution. We're going to have another Chiron transit as the day progresses. So that's another reason I'm bringing that up. Mercury is still in that sextile to Mars, but we're taking steps forward. We're a part of the drive. We're a part of the solution. We're pushing a lot of things into direction, into path, into focus. And when the moon hits the conjunction to Venus, there is like a commitment, there is support, there is helpfulness, there is hopefulness. This is a nice, nice energy and how we start the day on Wednesday. When we get into the afternoon between 12 and 2 p.m., I got it now at 12:30, Chiron is going to hit a square to the moon. And again, Chiron, he's neutral energy. He's not trying to inflict pain. He wants to solve things, but him being retrograde, it's most likely past things, how we overcome, how we take steps into a different direction, how we move into a different light, how we move into a different focus. And a lot of the vibration is after so much time of feeling like you're getting support of how you fix something, of how you heal something. After so much time, it's going to be something that starts to impact our confidence. And after this moment, the moon's going to go void for a few hours. Now, the reason I specifically mentioned the confidence, though, is because it's 6:17 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 6:30. The moon is going to go into Leo. When the moon goes into Leo, it also immediately starts a bunch of transit. It immediately starts a bunch of activities. And there's going to be a pickup. And a lot of the pickup is going to either bolster our attitudes, bolster our confidence, bolster our desires, bolster what we're doing. There's something about empowering something and pushing something forward. And again, we're feeling a certain level of confidence because we can feel ourselves transitioning into something new, stepping into something new, getting something put into place. And the closer we get to it, whether we know what we're working with yet or not, but the closer we get to it, the more confident we feel. And the moon in Leo immediately feels very confident. We are ready to take something on. We are ready to put something forward. We are ready to overcome some type of judgment. We are ready to push something into place, even if we don't know exactly what it is, but the boost is there. The confidence is there. The vibration is there. The fire is there very, very quickly. And we have a lot of things that happen as soon as the moon goes into Leo. So let's get into that. Here's the moon in Leo between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. So I'm going to keep it at 6:30 for just a second. Saturn is going to hit a trine to the moon. I'm going to tell you all the transits all at once, and then I'm going to talk about all of them at once. So here's the 4 transits that go from basically 6:30 in the evening to 11 in the evening. Boom, 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 boom. Saturn is going to hit a trine to the moon. Now, Saturn is government, authorities, judgment, whoever's in charge. Saturn is retrograde. Some people we don't trust anymore. They're no longer in charge because we don't have someone as a responsibility the same way. It allowed space for other things. You've heard me say that quite a few times. We're now very aware that we're not doing something the way that we were before, but we are still doing something that we've been doing over the course of the summer. I want to be clear about that. Like, we're not completely in a whole new world of like mermaid legs. It's not that. But we're building in a vibration of things that we've been dealing with for a while. And now we're into a whole different mentality of a lot of the things we've been doing over the course of the summer. There can be judgment, there can be frustration, there can be responsibility when Saturn hits that trine to the moon. But there's so many other things that if it is judgment, it doesn't feel long, or it feels like we get over it really, really quickly. For other people, it's going to be like, again, I don't understand what you're doing, baby, but I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. You do you. And we still get that boost in the confidence given, again, the moon is in Leo. The next thing that's going to happen is between 7 and 9 p.m. Uranus is hitting its sextile to the moon. This is Uranus in Mercury sign. There's something about the unexpected, something very, very exciting, something that hadn't necessarily been previously a part of the plan. Uranus hitting the sextile to the moon, giving just kind of a different vibration and a different atmosphere. Between 8 and 10 p.m., Neptune is hitting the trine to the moon. Between 9 and 11 p.m., the moon is hitting the opposition to Pluto. The busyness, the back and forth, the bouncing around, the different things that come to light, the different things that come into focus, it feels like if we spent the first part of the week really pouring ourselves into something, that it can be approved very quickly, finalized very quickly, pushed forward into something new very, very quickly. And whatever that new is, seems like it's a part of a transitional energy. Seems like it's a part of a bigger focus, even if we're not doing it all in this moment. There can be inspiration since we have Uranus and Neptune in this vibration, but there can also be like levels of insecurity because the moon is going to hit this opposition to Pluto. And I want to be clear, whatever kind of is talked about right around here on the 20th in this evening time, it can be something that we get results in or get the next level to or the next round of something next week, most specifically between like the 24th, the 25th, 26th, and 27th. So I want to be clear about that. We've got something here that can speak to a future series of transits after the new moon in Virgo takes place. So let's be clear about that. Be aware of what you're stepping into. Beware, not beware, but be aware of the amount of vibration, the activity that's going on here, because it feels like it yields very quick results given how the transits will continue going into next week. Okay. Neptune's trine gives inspiration. Uranus's trine gives excitement. It gives the unexpected. Pluto can give some fear and some elements of power struggles. But I feel like now that Pluto is starting to slow down and he's getting closer to, he's more in the last half of his retrograde and he's getting slower to the point that at some point in the near fall, he's going to actually turn direct. I don't feel like his triggering is quite the same as what it was before, just to be honest with you. But it's going to be a busy evening between that 6:30 and 11 p.m. standpoint. Now, whenever we get into the 21st, when we get into Thursday, the moon is going to be in Leo all day long, and it is not going to have that same level of effect. I feel like there's a busyness to Wednesday evening that once we get into Thursday, Thursday is the carryover. Thursday is the projection of moving forward. Thursday is the solidification of whatever our mental energy was between the 14th and the 18th. And that feels like the most exact between the morning and the afternoon. So I'm going to get this now to about 10:30. Between 9:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon, 9 degrees of Leo, is going to hit a sextile to Mars. Immediately after this, the moon is going to hit a conjunction to Mercury, and that's going to go the most exact between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. And this is our last 24-hour period of the sun in Leo. I feel like we know we're solidifying something. We know we're picking back up on something. We know we're getting the final round of something, the final approval of something, the final indication of something. Where was your mental energy between the 14th and the 18th? Because I feel like we're picking back up on it, but it's the next round, the next part, the next information, the next insight, given the moon kind of retracing the steps that Mercury and Mars did by themselves. For some people, this is going to be us telling someone, this is what I was working on for a few days. What do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Let me review it with my lawyer. Let me talk to it with my partner. Let me talk to my manager. Let me talk to my wife. Let me talk to somebody. I see all the work that you've done. I see all the stuff. Okay. Let me go get one outside energy, that could be the moon in this case, to see it too. I want their insight. I want their approval. I want their direction. And that comes through again with the moon hitting the sextile to Mars, most exact between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m. Between 12 and 2 p.m., that's when the moon is going to hit the conjunction to Mercury. It's most exact roughly around 1 o'clock, but you can see it right here. 10 degrees, 14 minutes for the moon, 10 degrees, 36 minutes for Mercury. We have a meeting, we have a run-in, we have a commitment, we have a conversation, and it is, again, something that feels like a boost in confidence that we are finalizing something, that we are working towards something, that we are getting into something, getting somewhere, getting something moved into focus. Okay. We're going to keep this going. And I will be honest, when it comes to the rest of the day on Wednesday or on Thursday, there's not a whole lot going on. I feel like once we get the approvals, like we're on cloud 9, we're feeling the heat, we're feeling the vibration, we're feeling the fun, we're feeling ourselves prepare, get ready, move into something, focus into something. We're going to get into the 22nd. And again, there's still a whole lot going on until we get into the afternoon. So I'm going to bump this all the way until about 4 p.m. because that's going to give us both the things that we need to start with. At 3:34 p.m. Central Standard Time, the sun is going to go into Virgo. And as soon as the sun goes into Virgo, it's entering this square from Uranus. The sun Uranus square is going to be a part of the new moon in Virgo. It is also going to be a part of just the weekend's vibration energy. And I feel like whatever we were solidifying, whatever we were preparing, whatever we were finalizing in the Mercury Mars sextile, whatever our awareness has been through that Mercury Mars sextile, like it's feeding into this new vibration of once the sun goes into Virgo. Because now the sun and Mercury are in mutual reception. They're in each other's houses. The sun is in Mercury's house, Mercury's in the sun's house. So they're feeding off of one another. So what does Leo and Virgo rule for you? Because for these next few weeks, they're working hand in hand, working with each other, helping each other, empowering each other. These two houses are coexistent in their vibration. And that's going to be really important because, again, we're going into that new moon in Virgo. So let's keep going. Between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. Okay, I'm going to bump it an hour. That is whenever we're going to get the trine between Chiron and the moon. And again, Chiron, that the solution vibration of this week, getting certain results, helping something come around. We're wanting to be neutral. We're wanting to overcome past wounds, past insecurities. In addition to that, in the evening time, the moon's going to go void after the trine. So I don't expect a whole lot of things on Friday. I feel like it's just going to be kind of like high vibration type of energy. When we get into that evening time between 9:22 and 9:41, so I got it at 9:30, Chiron is going to hit its exact square to Venus, but we're in this vibration all day long. It's building all day. It just goes exact in the evening time. And this feels like it instigates some awareness, some solutions. Again, an extra round of healing, care, consideration, helping us overcome something from the past, but also we're very confident in this stoic way. It's not like I'm going to be the biggest ego booster in the room. It's not. It's stoic. For in so many ways, I feel like that's where a lot of people are going to be. They're going to be like very assured in the vibration that they're in, or they're going to be very insecure and they're going to be doing things to satisfy their ego. That would be the more negative sense. But I really feel like more people are in that stoic, I'm finding the solutions, I'm doing these things to fix something, to heal something, to make something taste better, to make something look better. So much of this feels like the forward momentum and the actions we are taking are meant to be helpful versus hurtful. And I really think we're going to be able to feel that. I don't feel like it's going to be a heavy energy as we get to Thursday and Friday of this week. Now, on the 23rd at 12:25 a.m. Central Standard Time, so the first thing that we deal with is the moon is going to go into Virgo. Now, over the course of the overnight hours of Friday going into Saturday, that is whenever we're going to have our exact new moon in Virgo. And it is the first one. Whatever starts to unfold, whatever is starting to fall into place, whatever we're agreeing to, whatever we're taking forward, there's some level of excitement. There's some level of expect the unexpected. We didn't think we were doing this we didn't think we would be doing this the way that we're doing it before, but now we're doing it. And there's either going to be expect the unexpected in the new moon, or there is going to be a super amount of excitement in the new moon. Given the fact that as soon as the moon goes into Virgo, we're basically activating the new moon in Virgo, this first one, this commitment to change, this commitment to doing something new, doing something out of the box, again, doing something exciting, and knowing that it's taking an entire lunar month to completely solidify as the normal. It's the first step in something, the first step in the commitment, the first step of people walking in the door, the first step of going into a new direction, the first step of building something new. But it's a transitional new. In this vibration, it's very transitional. And I want people to be aware. As soon as the moon goes into Virgo, we are in that new moon vibration immediately. And so much of the transition of the weekend is either going to have expect the unexpected to it, or it's going to have loads of excitement. And it really kind of depends on where you're landing. So let's get into the rest of the transits. Here is the moon. The new moon is actually going to go exact at 1:05 a.m. Central Standard Time. I got it at 12:30. It's close enough. I'm not moving it by the minute. You guys know I'm not going to do that. The moon is going to hit the conjunction to the sun between 12 and 2 a.m. Some people, this is going to be just like how our vibration is on that late part of Friday going into Saturday. For other people, this is going to be like a mental energy taking over of all the other things that we need to do. Or it's going to be like once we get the approval of something, once we step into something, it lets us know like all the next things that we need to do. Because again, it's going to take an entire month to completely solidify whatever the Virgo axis is doing. So it's like we've got an approval, we've got an awareness, we've got something, and then our energy happens on Saturday that we know we have other things to do, other things to voice, other things to project, other things to take forward. New moon in Virgo. Between 2 and 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this now at 2:30. Uranus is going to go through its exact square to the moon. So you can see that right here. Uranus is 1 degree, 22 minutes. Here's the moon, 1 degree, 8 minutes. This is still feeding off of what I've just said. It's not necessarily going to be one extra element. Some people are going to be, kind of in I feel stoic. That's the best way I can describe it. We are aware and confident, sure, and purposeful in our energies. Can we be celebratory? Absolutely. Is there a lot of excitement feelings going on around us? Absolutely. The direction is there. We're recognizing that some of the direction had to happen a certain way and other people could not be involved to get to this point, but we needed the timeline with those people. We needed the timeline with certain situations so we could get to here. It's like I needed the lesson so I knew what not to do, what to do in this moment. The new moon in Virgo squaring Uranus. And then after those overnight hours of the new moon going exact and the moon's actual square to Uranus, there is nothing else transit-wise going on Saturday. So I feel like we're going to be busy, motivated, planning things, working through things, putting some things together, but arguably not a whole detrimental vibration going on, but there is the awareness of something new and unanticipated and unexpected in the vibration. As we get now into the 24th, so I got this now on Sunday, right in those overnight hours is whenever we're going to get to that actual square between the sun and Uranus. Now, this is building all through the day on Saturday. It goes the most exact in the overnight hours, Saturday into Sunday. Here's Uranus, 1 degrees, 23 minutes. Here's the sun, 1 degrees, 24. The entire weekend is either expect the unexpected or super levels of excitement or mixtures of both, given the sun-Uranus conjunction. Or no, the sun-Uranus square. The new moon in Virgo being a part of the sun-Uranus square. There is either going to be something very exciting going on or very unexpected going on based off of this energy here. But it doesn't, if it's blindsiding, it's because we've chose not to believe something was going to happen. If it's exciting, it's because we put a lot of work and effort into getting to this point. And I feel like a lot of the mental energy at the first part of the week is preparing us for this new unexpected commitment, exciting commitment, vibration of the new moon. But it's a transitional new moon. It's a transitional sun square Uranus. Now, in the early morning hours between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m., so I got it now at 7:30, Jupiter is going to hit a sextile to the moon. Not heavy. It's giving guidance. It's giving understanding. It's giving direction. It's giving ideas. It's giving some insight, but it's not heavy energy. As we get into the actual morning time, around 10:45 in the morning, so I got this now at 10:30, the moon is going to hit a conjunction to the south node. And I do feel like some people will feel the need to release something, the need to purge something, the need to let something go. You're going to feel something in your body. Some people are going to have to make the decision to not do something because of the sun-Uranus square. And we're still very into it going through the 24th. But anytime we hit conjunctions to the south node, and this is the last thing that we're going to be dealing with we do recognize that sometimes we have to end something, we have to complete something, we have to let something go. And considering this is also Venus's last day in Cancer, Venus is in the moon sign, we feel like we have to let something go, even if we have emotional attachment to it. Because again, we're talking about Venus. Now, there are some additional things that are going to start to take place the 25th, 26th, 27th, and that's going into next week, that are going to include Venus, that feels like it's feeding off of like that internal desire of what the release is. But we're not to that yet. For some people, it's not going to be released at all, in the sense of like, I have to let them go. It's more along the lines of like, I can let go of my anxiety. I can let go of this frustration. I can let go of this thing that's been bugging me forever, like bubbling in my guts. I can let go of something. And that will feel very beneficial. But again, we're still in that stoic vibration. That's what it feels like to me, is it feels stoic. Necessary parts, necessary movement, necessary new beginnings, because something else from the past didn't believe, didn't achieve, didn't agree, didn't want the same things. And it's not like our time with them was not necessary. I'm a firm believer people come into our life for a reason or a season. We don't always know the reason. We don't always know the season. Sometimes we do. We know we're only going to go to school for how long. We know that we're taking a contract job that's going to be up in a year. Like, we know sometimes what the season is or what the reason is, but sometimes we don't. And there can be a level of enlightenment that can come through, that it's like, as soon as you see the writing on the wall, again, it's just kind of like processing, mental awareness, conversation, sure. But whenever the sun goes into Virgo, it doesn't feel harsh. It doesn't feel harmful. Even with the expect the unexpected, with the Uranus side of that, it feels like there have been components that made us aware that this was even a possibility. For some people, it will feel like a level of achievement. For other people, it will feel like the first necessary step of a month's worth of change, 45 days worth of change, 45 days worth of adjustment. Because again, it's the first new moon in Virgo. And it's giving us enlightenment for what we will be solidifying over the course of the next 30 to 45 days. Solidifying an awareness of something that is meant to aid, that is meant to be beneficial, helping us be of service. And there's going to be a very big shift in the vibration that, again, for a lot of people will yield results very, very quickly. And I want you to have confidence. I want people to feel good, but I also want people to not ignore the signs. And I'm going to remind you that some people were meant to help you in your direction, but they were not meant to be your forever person. And some people, y'all can't handle that. I say that like temporary vibration. They're not going to be there forever. They're only there to help you for the moment. You don't take the salesperson home after you buy the car. They're only meant to help you in the moment. The thing is, when certain people come into your life, they don't have a badge. Salesperson. No, they don't. It doesn't do that. And when you don't listen to your own intuition, then we can let people further in than they should. And that's going to be, I think, a part of the underlying problems of September, where we're stepping into new while also feeling the bleed of some unfinished business of things that we did not allow, we did not heal, we did not understand, that we couldn't focus on before, we didn't see before. But as we're stepping into new, and this is why I feel like stoic is the best word, it's also making us aware of other little flags that we missed, that were there, old habits that we haven't fully corrected, that we haven't fully overcome. And I don't want to promise that everything is just going to be over the moon of excitement, because because I don't feel like it's going to be that. But I also don't feel like it's going to be melancholy, depression, and frustration. I still feel like there's levels of excitement, but it's almost like bittersweet. That could have been me. That could have been us. You could be here with me, but you decided to act like an asshole. Sometimes they're assholes. It's true. This isn't a heavy week unless you allow it to be heavy. You have to make the choice to not allow yourself drown in certain senses. But this does have potential. And I'm in love with the potential of this week. It's not something that we're supposed to say anymore. There's so much potential in this person, in this relationship. It's not about one person in particular. It's the energy and the vibration. I am in love with the potential of this week. And I want people to go into it very aware that whatever has been overwhelming the mind, our mental focus, that once we give the approval, once we give the green light, once we submit the plan, once we go talk to the boss, once we put it in front of somebody, that the feedback, the approval, the other half of the situation that you're not recognizing yet will move quickly. And we're going to see a very big mental transition of our focus by the end of the week when we get into that new moon in Virgo. And we're not that far off. Okay. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Hit me up with questions, hit me up with concerns. I'm very interested to hear like where your mental energy has been over the last few days. DM me whatever works best for you, but I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.